Very good evening to everyone. Today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things I've noticed about the way government institutions have been engaging with the FIRE movement. And I've noticed that the authorities have not been particularly supportive or positive about younger Singaporeans desiring to pursue financial independence, all right, instead of, making it as a big shot in the workplace. So let me just describe to you two incidents that I've noticed that might lend some credibility to the fact that authorities might not like FIRE very much. The first incident is during the Seedly Personal Finance Festival on April 2024 when I was actually participating in a panel. Minister of Manpower Tan See Leng opened with a reference to the FIRE movement and in a very friendly, non-confrontational way, he offered an alternative to FIRE that he considers fire in the belly. All right. So, and then the rest of the speech focused on career conversion, and the various schemes available for Singaporeans to maybe pursue new lines of work. All right. So that's the first incident. And then the second incident is something that actually I find quite shocking. That's when MoneySense, about a month ago, mysteriously created a comic strip that talked about a person, some kind of a dad, a middle-aged dad who gave up his FIRE journey. And very strangely, that comic sort of wanted to give you permission, to quit the FIRE movement. Why do you need to do this, right? And why do you need to give people permission not to pursue their financial independence, right? So I find it very, very puzzling. I find it very, very puzzling. The only people I know that are constantly trying to tell people, that it's fine not to be financially dependent are financial advisors, because these people are commission salesmen who are definitely better off if you do not pick up the skills, to manage your own finances, all right, and get ahead, right, in life. Okay, so I mean, I leave it to you to discuss and comment on this video as to whether you agree with me, whether the authorities are slowly coming up with some kind of a case to debate against people in the FIRE movement. All right, yeah, okay. So let's talk about some of the possibilities as to why, authorities are concerned about the FIRE movement. I could think of 3 points. Okay, the first is that if everybody sees retirement as an end goal, and there's a lot of focus on retirement, right? Nobody focuses on financial independence. If everybody sees retirement as an end goal, there might not be enough people to power the economy, and then people will drop out, right? I think that's a very serious misconception of the FIRE movement. Okay. The second point is that people who engage in FIRE generally try to live a very austere kind of lifestyle, right? Which may dampen consumption if this idea catches on in Singapore society, right? So if you follow some of the influencers, they pick up like old monitor screens, they save a lot of money, then who's going to buy the new monitor screens from Challenger, for example, right? Even myself, right? I consider myself extremely frugal when I was pursuing FIRE. I had a Nokia phone, the battery attachment was broken, and for years, I reinforced it with a rubber band. And the whole IT department knew about it and they make fun of me, right? Yeah. Yeah, but maybe I get the kind of attention, right? So I sort of enjoy it. And of course, finally, people get really intelligent about personal finance. They might not require financial advisors as much, so it's harder to charge them these expensive management fees every year. And that could have a knock-on effect on the financial sector. So these are the 3 possible reasons, okay? I think that can lead to maybe some animosity or maybe some policymaker to say that, maybe we nip this in the bud, let's offer people something better than the FIRE movement so that they will not be enamored with this kind of lifestyle, right? Okay. So let's talk about why I think authorities are barking up the wrong tree. They're definitely making a mistake, all right? Because achieving FIRE is very hard if you do the numbers. And often the people who succeed within a reasonable time are highly qualified professionals who earn way beyond the income level, right? In my case, in my first 2 years in Procter and Gamble, I was getting I started with a lower salary, but most of us were getting 20 to 30% increments, right? Probably unheard of in the millennial or Gen Z generation. And on top of it, I spent a lot of time in data centers over the weekends, doing backups and studying for the CFA, right? So that's the story of how I was able to earn a significant amount above my peers, right? Through the sheer power of overtime. Okay. Now, the second point is that if you desire $2,000 in monthly dividends that will allow most people to get out of the rat race, you need to have approximately $600,000 in investment assets, assuming a 4% save rate of withdrawal. So this is not easy to come by, right? This is something that requires a lot of strategizing. And unless you get lucky and you get into Bitcoin at a particular point in history, you're not going to make this within like 8 to 15 years. All right. So when I discovered FIRE, without the FIRE movement, I just figured it out through induction. When I was in my 20s, I was lucky because I was around 26, 27 years old. I was only able to get a bare amount to cover my expenses as a single bachelor living with my parents at the age of 32. All right. So it's still a significant number of years. Okay. And of course, once you figure it out, it gets faster because then you realize that I can give up all these things in my life. All I have to do is just focus on becoming financially independent, right? You need to get into that goblin mode, right? Before they can work. Okay. And often I find that over the years, people have been very critical of my lifestyle choice, and friends who are not pursuing FIRE say that, well, you can only do this if you are a fresh graduate with a good honors degree, right? And you work for a multinational instead of an SME. And all these critics, in a sense, might be correct, okay, in that the equivalent of this is in the modern context. If you're maybe a medical doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a software engineer for Google, right? It's easier for you to fire, right? But if you are, I mean, forgive me if I'm blunt, right? If you're a private degree holder with a business or management degree, you're going to find that the FIRE movement is very difficult to pursue, right? Some people might even argue that it's a pipe dream, and I can't dissuade you from that because the numbers are numbers, right? Okay, so I think authorities are wrong simply because all the FIRE people I know are highly motivated individuals. Like I have an ENTJ kind of personality, and if you look at my life, am I retired? I'm creating videos for you. I run an investment course. I teach law in a polytechnic. Next month, I'm teaching a course in artificial intelligence to kids. And I'm pursuing like qualifications like the ACLP. I've just completed my AIAP foundation certificate, right? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Singapore can do better with more people like me. I don't know, right? Okay, now something very interesting happens if you participate in these forum groups where they discuss financial independence. And this is something which I hope that the policymaker will understand. All right. There are only a few MBTI personality types that dominate these chat groups. And the largest group are INTJs. These are strategists. And the rest being a smattering of ENTJs like me, ISTJs like accounting majors, and ESTJs who are like executives and project management types. All right. So you notice that there is always a J behind our MBTI because J highly correlates with this psychological trait of conscientiousness, right? Conscientiousness, which means people that generally are ambitious, they have a long-term plan, and conscientious people generally, if they don't pursue financial independence, they generally get better marriages, better health outcomes, all right? And these are the personality types with a decent probability of attaining FIRE within perhaps a decade or a decade and a half, right? Conscientiousness is very important because it not only gives you the ability to cut down your expenses, but it also gives you the ability to develop these financial skills to to invest your money in an intelligent manner, right? And is clearly dominated by INTJs who are particularly good at strategizing. And my own personal pet theory as to why the government might not like FIRE too much is that FIRE competes with the top policymakers who are mostly INTJs as well, right? So you find that the guy can say that, I can be in the administrative service, become your think tank, your personal Dune mentat, or I can just cruise along and focus on my own investments, right? Maybe there's that kind of fear, right? It is the same kind of intelligence you find in the top administrative officer. Yeah, it is also the same kind of people you see in the GP programs in Singapore. All right, so maybe, okay, like I said, if you disagree, just comment on this. And this is not a very quantitative kind of video. I created this so that we could have a more lively discussion in the comment section on whether you agree. Okay, so bottom line, okay, I don't think that our authorities should be threatened by us. Okay, and I think the most important point is that just because you desire financial independence doesn't mean that you desire early retirement. Okay, and work provides more than money. It is also a source where you derive your meaning. It is also where you derive your identity, and it's also a place to make friends. Okay, and I've learned after quitting the workforce from a statutory board 12 years ago that it's very fun to continue being engaged in this world, right? I teach law these days in a polytechnic, and my students, my adult students, CT, some of them have become my friends. And I have coffee with them, right? And I think that is the money is obviously secondary. Okay. All right. Now, that being said, there are many toxic workplaces that drive people towards this desire for financial independence. Right. When I was doing procurement with the statutory board, the work was really toxic. Right. People were finding ways to block you, and you could spend a year not having a single achievement to your name on your resume, and that could be for my personality type. It can end my career. In fact, it did end my career, right? If you do not aim for financial independence, you will be beholden to some of these tyrannical bosses. You have a golden handcuff pulling you down, and I think a lot of us Singaporeans, if you have a mortgage, you have wife, and you have kids, right? That whole system, right? Okay, including the BTO system and like I have an executive condominium, so I BTO, right? Would tie you down to a lifetime of indentured servitude, Yeah, and sometimes you ask yourself, how different is this from some kind of modern slavery, right? Yeah, and the fact of the matter is that I don't think people want a cure to that because capitalism needs to work that way. So people who join the FIRE movement are the people that realize, this is something wrong. I want to solve this problem. I'm actually willing to work many times harder, be more engaged over the short term, and live a more austere kind of lifestyle so that when push comes to shove, you meet a work environment that is very bureaucratic, a little bit elitist and toxic, I can walk away, right? So I just want to tell the authorities that I fired at the age of 32. I carried on working for 7 years. I've really enjoyed myself for the first 5. In fact, I only started to make tactical career mistakes after I left the private sector, right? And I have no regrets, right? Preparing for financial independence and working through that 7 years. Okay, and that 7 years has allowed me to very calmly build up my family, have a wife, have a kid, while expanding my dividend income to cover the expenses of my family as my family grew larger and larger, right? And the moment you hit that middle age, you become promoted to middle management, things are going to change and people are going to kick you in the ass, right? And they're going to punch you in the face. And it's particularly vulnerable for men like me who have a family and we cannot take a lot of risk, right? So financial independence can really solve that problem. Okay, so what do you think about this presentation? Do you like this more qualitative style of discussion where I might be wrong about something, and if you disagree, just put it up on the comment section. Okay, I will do my best to engage with everybody. If you like this content, subscribe to my channel. You can buy me a coffee by following this link. But if you want to listen to the rest of my life story and how to figure out how the FIRE movement works, you can sign up for my course preview on the link here. Alternatively, just Google ERM intro and take the first link. And that's all I have for you. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you very much.